At this stage, I'm so pleased with the great honor to introduce you Dr. Imad Khoja. Dr. Imad, he is a chair of Emergency Medicine Department, assistant professor at Emergency Medicine Department at King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah. He has American Board of Emergency Medicine, American Board of Medical Quality, Emergency Medicine Leadership and Operation Fellowship, and Master of Business Administration. So after you deep dive with Dr. Anas and you know how to clean up your data, the next question is, do you need biostatistician to analyze your data? The answer is not always. If you deep dive with Dr. Imad for 2 hours, you will get the basic of data analysis. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Imad and deep dive with him into data analysis foundation. So welcome, Dr. Imad.
Thank you so much for your kind word. Screen. So hello everyone, thank you to Dunya for the kind invite and make me part of this great conference. Happy to join you guys today. So today I'm gonna talk to you guys about data analysis for the next 2 hours or 1 hour 45 minutes. The way I want to do this is I want to have it more interactive. So can you guys all use the chat box? Yes, no? Perfect. So I know this is difficult, and this is one of my challenges. Doing an online course or a virtual lecture, it's very difficult to keep people engaged. I'll do my best to keep you guys engaged. The subject matter is not the most interesting, but I'll try my best to make it interesting. I'll be asking you a few questions during the talk, so feel free to type in answers. I saw only 2 or 3 people replied, so hopefully more people will be participating. Okay. So first, before we start, I sent you guys in the chat box a survey. Take a minute, fill it up. We will use it later on to do some data analysis. Did you guys all get the link? Thank you. Good. Thank you, guys. Okay, let's talk about some goals and objectives today. So my goal is to make you understand the most important, understand the important concepts in data analysis and build a solid foundation for you. In the next 2 hours, I will try to make you understand the concepts. I'm not gonna dig in a lot in the technical part. Data analysis is a subject that you could do a PhD on. So if you understand the key concepts, I think you guys are all in a generation where you can go online and search and analyze and find out what you need to do in your study. And each study is going to be different. So to do one lecture that covers everything is going to be very difficult or essentially impossible. But understanding the concepts and how to apply them, that's what I'm going to make you guys do. These are my content. I'll have a quick disclaimer. We'll spend some time on data analysis programs and application. We'll talk about some of them and which one is best. Then I'll spend a good chunk of time on some terminology that we're going to use during data analysis. Then we'll spend some time talking about correlation. My main part or the bulk of my talk is going to be about regression. And then lastly, some Excel stuff. And we will mention types of variables. So those are the contents. The size is hopefully how much time we spend with each one of them. So a quick disclaimer. I have nothing to disclose, but let me tell you where I'm coming from in data analysis. So I learned data analysis in mid school. We always got taught data analysis stepwise, and then we reach a certain step and we don't go beyond. And I also took an MBA, and I taught, and professor in engineering school taught me data analysis. The way they teach it there is they don't spend a lot of time teaching you the basic stuff. They just take you directly to the deep dive. And let me give you as an example. In mid school, we learn a lot about hypertension medication and the mechanism of action and pharmacology and absorption. And then at the end of the day, what you need to know is what's the effect of that medication in high blood pressure management. So that's what I'm going to take you guys to. I'm going to skip all the medical school part and how do you and the pathophysiology, the pharmacology, the physiology, and we'll jump into the meat of the subject. This is how I learned it there, and I think that's the way it should be taught. So this is how I'm going to present it to you. So today, inshallah, I'm going to start from assuming that you guys don't know anything about data analysis, and then take you up to the sky. You guys will learn how to fly, inshallah, before learning how to walk in data analysis. So are you guys excited? I hope someone is saying or shouting. Shout. Okay, Bismillah. Oh, okay. So let me try it. Does this sound better? Yes? No? Okay. So the type of data analysis applications, I put them in three categories. So you have Excel. Excel. Some people don't consider Excel as a data analysis program, but you can do a lot with Excel if you know how to use it. So I'm going to spend a good chunk of time with Excel today. And then you have SPSS by IBM and Stata. Then you have some SAS and R and Python. So those are the most commonly used data analysis tool here in Saudi. Well, I hope, Riyadh, I think it's the problem is in your PC. So see if everyone else has a problem, let me know. But if it's only one person, maybe you need to dial up the volume. I'll try to speak louder. So those are the entry stuff level, and those are the more advanced, powerful data analysis tool. This is a study that looked at what type of data analysis program people use. They asked two different studies, two different questions. So in this study, they asked what a self-serve analytical tool that are you using currently. So most people are using Excel, then R. By the way, let me go back here. SAS and R. R is an open source application. So open source means that it's free. So you can go in and download R for free and start using it. SAS is the commercial version of R. So SAS, you have to pay for it. This is the application that I learned how to use in business school. Very complex. Essentially, what you're doing in those categories of data analysis tool is you're doing coding. You enter codes like you're programming, essentially you're programming an application. Those applications are they have an interactive platform. So a lot of people are using Excel, and you will be surprised on what Excel is being used for. And when you go to the business side, the big banks, the airline industry, you would expect them to use some kind of advanced application for their accounting and data manipulation. But most of them, they use simple Excel. So my message here is don't underestimate Excel. You can do a lot of things with Excel. This is another survey sent to 1,200 responders, telling them what application they're using. A lot that said they said they're using R as a primary tool and other uses. And this is and as I told you guys, R is free, and then the list goes down. Here in Saudi, a lot of people love SPSS for some reason. It's not that popular in the US, but a lot of people like SPSS here by IBM. So the question, so this guy, I guess he has some Mediterranean roots. He loves SPSS so much, and he wants you to convince him that SPSS is better than R. This is a new type of headache that I learned doing SAS and coding. So you have frontal headache, sinus headache, headache in the back of your head, stress-related headache, and then you have a headache that comes in after reading someone else's code. Let me show you what I mean by coding. So that's how you do it in R or in SAS. You type in those things that you type in with keyboard, and with your keyboard, you type in data with water dots, and then you start typing those stuff. And this is an analysis. You have to memorize the commands, and you have to type them one by one. If you miss, like a dot, for example, or a dollar sign, the whole thing will not run. And it just gives you an error. If it gives you an error, then you have to figure out what's wrong, and you might spend 3-4 hours trying to figure out what's wrong with your code. Very painful. It's even worse if you're trying to figure out what someone else is doing. That's why you get headache from it. Okay. This is a website. If in your handout, you'll find the link to the website that compares all those or some of those data analysis tools. So SPSS, the interface is menu and a little bit of syntax. Syntax is coding. So like SAS and R, they're only coding applications. The learning curve is gradual. It's easy to learn, intuitive. SPSS. That's why I guess a lot of people like to use SPSS here. Stata is in the middle. SAS and R are very complex, and it's not impossible to learn, but it's difficult to learn. One of my colleagues, he started a research fellowship, and for somebody in our department in US, they only used SAS. SAS is the only free, is the only program they paid for. So he had to use SPSS, and he started from scratch, knowing nothing about SAS. He had to use SAS, knowing nothing about SAS and nothing about coding, and he learned by himself how to start coding and how to use SAS. So it's not difficult, but it takes you time. Data manipulation in the SPSS is moderate. SAS and R, it's very strong. The output is very strong. The graphs are very, very powerful in those applications. And those are some of the applications that you can use. I put the NYU link here. You could go to their website. They can help you with a lot of things. I mean, I was impressed on how much stuff is there. So if you have a study and you're not sure what kind of statistical test you use, they'll help you navigate that. They'll ask you about the type of variable you have, how many variables you have, and what kind of test you need to do. So go in there. I think you'll like it. Okay, so the question comes in, which one should I use, or which one is better? Excel, SAS, SPSS, which one do I use? And I think it comes into to this. So in the last 3 years of my training in the US, or the last 2 years, I got into photography. And I was spending like all of my free time in photography. I loved it so much that I bought this thing. This is Canon EOS R digital camera. It's the latest model. It has a zoom lens 4 to 105 millimeter lens with an adapter. You could it's a professional grade camera, and I mean that's as good as it gets. And this is actually the camera that I bought, and this is how much I paid for the camera, which I'm now looking at it. I cannot believe that I spent that much money on a camera. At the same time, I had my Samsung, exactly the same phone, exactly the same specs, and I paid roughly the same price. And you could look at the difference. So, and now you're asking me which one is better. So obviously, so what do you guys think? Which one is better? Let's use 1 for the camera and 2 for the phone. So type in the text. Yeah. Camera. Yeah, so and I think the obviously the specs and the quality and the power, the powerful images can come in from the camera, but the flexibility, the small size, the availability of the phone is way better. So I think the better one is the one that you have. So whichever device you have at that moment is the better device for you. And to prove this point more, let me show you some pictures. By the way, all the pictures that you guys see during my presentation is pictures that I took with I took myself. Let's look at those pictures, and I'm going to ask you guys which picture was taken by the camera and which picture was taken by the phone. So let's start from this one. What do you guys think? If it's camera, type in C. Phone, type in P, I guess. This one, camera or phone? Camera, phone, camera. Yeah, this one was by the phone. How about this one? Yeah, this one by the phone too. How about this one? This one is the camera. This one. This one by the phone. This one by the camera. So you guys are all over the place, and sometimes which is expected. So I guess proves what I'm trying to say is whatever thing you have at that moment is good enough. It can produce a lot of beautiful images with the phone or the camera. And I think the same thing applies to data analysis. You can use SPSS or SAS or Excel, whatever you have available. You can use it to its fullest potential and make a good product out of it. Everybody uses Excel. Everybody has Excel. So that's why I'm hammering down on Excel. SPSS, you might not have it. You need to pay for a license. SAS is very expensive to have, but Excel is readily available. And most of the studies, I'm assuming you guys are going into an entry studies. I think most of your analysis can be done on Excel. I'll show you how to use Excel, and hopefully it's going to be helpful. Oh, some more pictures. Camera or phone? Well, you guys are becoming experts. So yeah, that's camera. How about this one? Phone. Oh, صحيح. Okay. Well, it shows much. This one. This is my son, by the way, Mohammed. Camera. Yes. Oh, ما شاء الله خلاص. How about this one? هذه بنتي لبنى. Phone. Is that a pattern, or you guys are just guessing? Well, you guys actually can tell. This one. هذا ما يقرب لي بس. This one is phone. Yeah. But my message is at the end, you could use both to the full potential, and you get a very beautiful product. Okay, let's move on. So let's talk about terminology. So we talked about the applications. I explained to you guys what kind of apps are there and what kind of programs that you could use. Next, let's spend some time on terminology. So those are some basic stuff, but I want to make sure you guys understand them before we move in further. So population is a group of people or a group of something with a common character or with a similar theme. Sample is a small portion that represents the whole group. Variable is the thing that you want to measure or the thing that you want to look for in that group. Independent and dependent variable. Independent variable is the variable that's your main variable. That's a variable you want to study. The dependent variable are those okay. So dependent variable is the variable that you want to study. Is your main variable. The independent variable are the other variables that affect that one. So in analysis, you take one variable, dependent, and then you see the effect of other variables, the independent one on that variable. Yeah, for example, if I want to see the effect of weight, the effect of height, gender, shoes, and age on weight, weight is my dependent variable, and those are the other independent variables. So what's the goal of data analysis? Data analysis is to summarize data. And let me, if you allow me, I'm gonna get off track a little bit. I want you guys to think of this as simple as possible. I feel like a lot of data analysis courses and lecture and data analysts, they make it sound so complex that you guys get turned off and hire them to do the data analysis. So if you guys feel any or if you have any question or anything that's not clear to you, or it sounds a bit complex, just let me know and I can go back and tone it down. So the goal of data analysis, going back to the question, the goal of data analysis is to summarize the data. So how can I summarize the data? You could summarize data by graphs, whether a histogram, an X over time or a scattered plot. And you could do those in Excel, and that's how you do each one of those in Excel. The other thing that you could do, you could summarize the data in numbers. So how do I summarize numbers in numbers? So if you have weight, you want to summarize the weight, you could use one of those. This is the graph of weight. This is a scattered plot of the same data here. And you can summarize them using either a measure of dispersion or measure of magnitude or location. So are you guys familiar with those? Okay. So let's talk about them. Mean. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'm sure you guys are familiar with most of them. Let's focus on those, the easy ones. Mean, the definition of mean is the average of the data. So you take all data divided by the number, sum all the data entry, all the data points, and divide them by the number of the sample. Then you get the mean. Median is the point in the middle. Mode is the most common. So those three, they measure the central tendency of the data. Meaning, in this graph, so each dot is one data point. This dot is subject number 1, his weight was 70. This one is subject number 2, his weight was 90. So those are data points. The purpose of the mean, the median, and mode is they measure how much those data points are related to the central point. So they tell you about the center point. The other one here on the other side, the dispersion, they will tell you about how far from the middle point they are. So the range is the easiest one. The range is the furthest away and the furthest away from the other side. That's the range. Second, let me just. The problem with the range is it uses only 2 points. So the most extreme, it represents the most extreme upper and the most extreme lower. So it uses only 2 points to analyze the dispersion of the data. So that's why it's not very useful. What the alternative is, you could use the variance or the standard deviation. So and let's talk about the variance and standard deviation. Range is the same, but this is what this essentially was I was telling you guys. Variance is the averages of the squares of the deviation from the mean. I'll explain this, and I'll explain you the standard deviation. So let's look at the equation. This is the mean. This is the symbol of the mean. What you do is you sum up all the data points and divide them by the sample number. This is the variance. What you're doing in the variance is, let's go back to the graph. So what I'm trying to do, or what I'm trying to achieve, is to understand how far is the data from the center. So what the variance does is essentially you find out what your mean is. You find what the middle point is first, and then you subtract the data point from the middle. For example, this one, I'm gonna, if my mean is 70, I'm gonna subtract 70, 100 from 70, and I'll end up with 30. So for this data point, I have 30, and for this data point, I have 20. For this data point, I have 15. And you do this for all the data, sum the differences from the mean, and then divide them by the number of data, or the number of data points. So that's how it uses all the data points and giving you a number that represent how far the data are from the center. Clear? Yes? Good. The small problem that we have is, by definition, the middle line or the mean is the center point. So all data are equally distributed on above and below the mean. So if you take or by definition, if you sum up the differences of the data above the mean and the data below the mean, you'll end up with 0 because the mean is the middle point. So that's why we use the square root or the power root. So that's why we use the square. So why do we use the square? Because it gets rid of the signal. It gets rid of the negative. So the power of 1 or negative 1 is 1. That's why we use the power root to get the power to get rid of the signal of the negative. So all the data point will have a positive positive numbers, or you don't have any negative numbers. So that's what we call the variance. It's the difference from the mean, the power to the power of 2 to the power of 2. Standard deviation is essentially the same. We're just getting the power root of the variance. So you want to get rid of the power. Same thing for the other side of the equation. So that's standard deviation. Simple. Yes. No. But let me explain it again one more time. By the way, do you guys all speak Arabic, or anybody who speaks English only? طيب. Now let's talk خلينا نتكلم على كيف how do we summarize the data. كيف نلخص الداتا. You have two ways of summarizing the data أو طريقتين لتلخيص الداتا. You could use measures of central tendencies أو الطرق أو الأشياء اللي تقيس لنا قديش الداتا قريبة للنص أو what's the middle إيش وسط الداتا what's the middle point of the data. هذول الثلاثة دول المين والميديان والمود. I don't think you guys ما أعتقد إن في أحد عنده مشاكل في دول الثلاثة. It's clear and I think you guys understood. بعدين نبغى نعرف قديش الداتا بعيدة عن السنترال بوينت. الميجر اوف dispersion أو split قديش بعيد عن السنترال بوينت. فكيف أوصف الداتا وبعدها عن السنترال بوينت؟ بكل بساطة أسهل شيء أخذ الأعلى أبعد واحدة من فوق أبعد واحدة من تحت ونسميه الرينج. المشكلة حق الرينج إنه it does not present all the samples. يعني مو كل واحد من الداتا بوينت دخل في حساب الرينج. Only 2 data points دخل في الرينج. نفس مشكلة المود مثلا. المود ما هو كل الداتا تدخل فيه عدد كم داتا بوينتس قليلة في حساب. So how do we solve that problem? One way is we look at each point and see how far it's from the mean. ناخذهم نقطة نقطة ونشوف كل نقطة قديش بعيدة عن المين أو عن النص. ونشوف الفرق هذا ونجمعه من فوق ونجمعه من تحت. لو جمعناه من غير ما نربع الجمع، يعني لو حسبنا كم هنا مثلا الفرق 20 هنا 5 هنا 1 هنا 2. لو جمعناهم كلهم الموجب اللي هو الفرق أعلى مع السالب اللي هو الفرق من تحت هنطلع بزيرو. فعشان كذا ما بنجمع الفرق لحاله، بنربع الفرق. لما تربع الفرق يصير الرقم موجب. يعني لما أضرب سالب 2 ضرب سالب 2 اللي هو سكوير روت اوف -2 يطلع موجب 4. 2 ضرب 2 يطلع 4 برضه اللي هو السكوير روت اوف 2 is 2. السكوير روت اوف -2 is 2. So that's why we are using مو السكوير روت تربيع على 2 او الباور اوف 2 2 power of 2 is 4. minus 2 to the power of 2 is برضه 4. فالفكره كلها من التربيع هذا انه نتخلص من الاشاره السالبه، فيصير الداتا اللي تحت والداتا اللي فوق لما نجمعهم مع بعض ما يطلع لنا زيرو، يطلع لنا رقم صحيح. وهذا هو this is what we call الفارينس. هذا واضح؟ هذا الفارينس. You guys don't need to calculate this. بس افهم الكونسبت حقه، بعدين هو it's a command في الاكسل يحسب لكم الفارينس ويحسب لكم الستاندرد ديفيشن. It's just to give you an idea what it's trying to achieve. كويس. معلش انا بطالع هنا لانه الشات بوكس هنا، خلينا نحطه. طيب بما انه الفارينس قلنا نحن we are using the power of 2 to get rid of the negative sign, then standard deviation is just the power root of the variance. We're getting rid of the power of 2. نرجع للطبيعة. So that's the whole concept of the standard deviation or variance. The coefficient of variation نسيبه على جنب. It's not important. Good. لو عندكم الهاند اوت هتلاقوا في السلايد نوتس الكوماندز حقت الاشياء دي في اكسل، كيف تحسبوها في اكسل. طيب we'll skip this. ما اعتقد انه مهم، وهذا standard deviation. Okay, let's move on to the association between two variables. And I want to save some time. My plan is to finish at 6:40, or give you give you guys time to answer questions وبعدين نصلي. طيب. Association between two variables. Now we want to measure a relation between two variables. To measure a relation between two variables, نحن كل the previous talk في البداية let's recap. بدأنا بالتست وبالapplications والprogram which one do we use. بعد كده تكلمنا عن variables و how do we summarize those variables. كنا بنتكلم عن variable واحد. Now we are using two variables. نبغى نتكلم عن اثنين، variable A ولا variable X و variable Y. What is the relation between those two variables? كيف هنعرف the relation between the two variables? You need to do a statistical test. ايش statistical test that we do? These are some examples of the statistical test. You could do chi-square, t-test, and regression. Regression is the most common statistical used in the literature. And this is just simply me going into PubMed or typing in the name of the test, see the output. The regression is by far the most common. Well, unfortunately, in medical school, nobody talks about regression. Regression is the most commonly used and the most commonly misused test in statistics. Like nobody talks about it. It makes your life easy. If you take a data analysis course ولا حتى data analysis statistics اللي في كلية الطب in the medical school, they only talk about t-test to chi-square or they stop there. When I was telling you guys about business school, they skipped all of this. They skipped the chi-square or t-test, so they jumped into the regression. For today, inshallah, I'll teach you how to do regression. I hope I can make you understand how regression works. I think if you guys understand regression, you're doing a decently advanced statistics. So this is a great thing if we achieve today. Okay. Regression. Okay. So we've been talking about. So initially we had one variable, the weight, and now we have two, weight and height. So we want to see how they related together. When you summarize one variable, this is how we summarize the weight. Weight, the scale of the weight, data points. That's how you summarize graphically one variable. If you want to add in another variable, weights and height, you do a scatter plot. That's how it looks like. Have you guys seen this before? Yes. So what this graph is showing is essentially each dot is a data point. Each one of those has two entries, two scales. So it has the height is over here, and the weight is over here. So مثلا subject number 1, his weight was 45 43 kilos, and his height was 52. So you put in here, and then you build up the you enter them one by one, and that's how you get this plot. برضه اعتقد في slide note you will see how you do it and how you do the scatter plot in Excel. And if there is no relation between the two variables, you will see those points scattered all over the graph. If there is a relation, they will take some kind of patterns. When we say linear regression, they take a linear pattern. And this is your regression line. هذا هو الخط حق الريجريشن اللي هو نفسه الخط اللي هنا سويناه اللي هو اللي في النص الميديان. This is the middle point of the data. الفكرة من الريجريشن كله إنه it gives you this line أو المعادلة حق الخط. It tells you how much the data are close to that line. كويس؟ Good. Yes. Oh. Okay. Good. Association between two variables, you could use the covariance. The covariance is the variance of each الvariance اللي بنتكلمنا عنه of each variable multiplied together. Correlation of coefficients is not important right now. اللي هو نفس زي ما قلنا. This looks familiar. It's the same equation that we used for the variance. They're just multiplied. What gives you one number that gives you رقم واحد. It tells you the relation between the two variables. Let's skip this for now. Let's go to regression. طيب. So far so good. Yes. This is the regression model. This is the equation of regression. So the goal of regression is to capture the relationship between a dependent variable, however, the variable الأساسي, that the one we want to measure, versus an independent variable. Or variables, you could use more than one. This is the power of regression. يعني ال statistical test that we use في الكلية t-test or chi-square, they're limited to 2. A regression, you can do hundreds of variables. تمسك مثلا الهايت ولا البلود بريشر, you compare it to the age, gender, sex, 4-5 variables at the same time in one statistical test. That's how powerful regression is. That's why I think people use it a lot, and that's why I think you guys should know how to do regression. And this is the equation. This is the part explained. This is the error part, the unexplained part. Why do we do regression? Regression explains the changes in y from x. Regression also can predict, and if you use a regression and you find the regression equation, not only you can explain if there is a relation between y and x, you can also predict what y is going to be in a given x. And مثلا I use this في prediction حق الستوك ماركت. كواحد من الهوموركس حقتي في الداتا اناليسيس انه use a regression model to see to predict something. فكنت توقعت على حسب الاسهم اسعارها how much profit you'll get in the future. But you could use regression to predict data, and you could use to control y. If you want y to be a certain number, you could do it. In medical field, we use mainly an explanation part. You could use a prediction. I think these are decent studies to make. And nobody is touching this in medical field or medical literature. But if you want to use data to predict data, I think that's a good idea in this. But how does it work? This is the regression equation for the one variable. Simple linear regression for one variable. You have y. Y is your dependent variable equals a نسميه الانترسبت. B is the slope multiplied by X, the other variable, plus some error. This is the whole equation for the linear regression. Yeah. I'm gonna get in B, hot X. The computer will find out the other two numbers for me, and then I can know what Y is. If you have multiple, the same thing. Y equal A plus intercept is always the same, plus B multiplied by X1, B2 multiplied by X2, and so on. And that's how you get the linear line in the regression graph. Multiple linear regression. This is our example when the relation between the weight and height. Weight equals A, a number, plus B, another number multiplied by the height plus some error. By this, you can draw the regression line اللي شفناه في الجراف. طيب, if you do this in Excel, this is what you get as an output. كم الوقت؟ So we have time. طيب, we could do the analysis together. Let me talk to you guys about the output of Excel first. هذه تطلع من Excel. I'll talk to you about what does it mean, ولا where do you look for, وبعد كده نسويها together على الإكسل. R square هذا how much your model explain the variation. The percentage of variance in Y explained by the regression model اللي انت سويته أو الفاريبل اللي انت دخلته. The values of A, B, and U, it comes in here. I'll show you to X. So A اللي هو slope is this number, intercept. Oh, B اللي هو slope is this number. Oh, this is your p-value, is the relation. سؤال لكم الآن. هل في الستادي دي اللي صارت is the relation between the height and the weight significant ولا لا؟ Is there a relation or there is no relation? No, it is significant. It's highly significant. ليش؟ كم ال p-value؟ لا, ال p-value is معلش, عشان هو هذه E minus 86 معناته في 86 صفر وبعدين يعني point أصفار إلى ما لا نهاية بعدين 192. But it's very significant. Another way you can tell is by the confidence interval. Does the confidence interval cross the zero ولا لا؟ You guys are following or you're not following? Yeah, so if it doesn't cross, then it's significant. طيب, خلينا. I think this is a good time for us to do this together. So let me do this. I'm going to share it in my screen. Do you guys see my screen? Yes. طيب. This is the link I sent you guys. Let's refresh. طب 49 responder. ندخل هنا. This is Google survey. Google survey gives you a lot of. It's an easy way to collect data. This is the summary statistics. في English only speaking. Okay, I'm sorry guys for 7 of you who don't speak Arabic. Female dominant population, weight and height. Okay, so let's go to the Excel. Create a spreadsheet. طيب download. Enable editing. This is your data. Let's do some data cleaning. زي ما قال دكتور أنس. The best way of to deal with missing data is to delete them. Okay, some missing data here. Sorry for you guys, Mr. 18. Okay, so this is our data. Let's do a regression together. So we'll do a regression analysis of this data. We want to figure out what's the relation between your weight and height. But the way you do it is you go to data. طبعا خليني أكبر هذا كمان. Do you see this thing? You could do it. Do you want me to send you the spreadsheet? Let me send you the spreadsheet. So if you want to do it with me at the same time. Okay, now. شوف ما يصير. Save. Close. Okay. So now you should have it. Okay. طيب let me keep track of time. Field data analysis. But yes, so this does not come in default in your Excel. Do you guys have it in your Excel? So the way to get this tab, data analysis, is you go to File, Option, and then you go to Add In, Identity and Data Analysis Toolpack. You click Go, and then you check in Data Analysis Toolpack. You check in Data Analysis Toolpack and you click OK, then it will show up. It will restart and show up there. Oh, معلش دكتور دنيا, I'm not following the questions. Okay, I'll go back to the questions. طيب. So let's start. Let's not waste time and start doing analysis. So click on data analysis. What we want, you can see all the statistical tests. You have the ANOVA test is mainly for two variables: correlation, covariance, والvariance نتكلم عنهم الهيستوجرام, t-test with two tails, single tail. كل ال data analysis test حصلوها. فنحن what we want is regression. You click OK, and now you start entering the data. So we want to look for y is our dependent variable, so we want to see the weight is our dependent variable. ندخل الويت do it all, enter. Your output is the height, enter. If you check and label, هذا أول سطر is the label. You don't need to mess up with your confidence interval. This is the default, usually 95. So you don't need to mess up with the other stuff. And hit OK. Oh, طلع لنا اكسل في له مشكله انه هو it's an error يعني you don't need to bother about it. يكتب الكونفدنس انترفال مرتين، هذه وهذه هذول الخانتين يعيدهم مره ثانيه. you just delete them يعني it shows the American mentality. خلاص it's just a glitch. It's been there from 4 years. Nobody wants to fix it. هم الأمريكان كده. If it's ain't broken, don't fix it. فهو it's there, just delete them. Or okay. But now this is what we have. This is our p-value. هذا الرقم اللي كان مضايقكم أول. خلينا نغيره إلى أصفار. أبغى أغير الفورمات. Okay, this looks better. فهذه الأرقام اللي بنطالع فيها الحين. We want to know what's the p-value. Is there a correlation? This is your data, guys. So now we just did a regression analysis on your data. Is there a relation between a height and weight? Yes. Is it significant? Yes, it's significant. You could use a p-value, or if you're one of the people which I prefer the confidence interval, this is your confidence interval. Does it cross zero? No, it does not cross this. Good. Simple enough. But let's do more complex statistics. خلينا نسوي regression. We use 3 variables. ايش عندنا؟ هذول we need to decode them إذا نبغى نستخدم الجندر. نخلي شغلانة. Let's not do that. خلينا بس نستخدم age والheight مثلا. Let me move this here. So we could do regression. We just use 2 variables. T-test can do that for you. Like if you want to do more advanced stuff, يعني تبغى أكثر من 2 variables, you have to use regression. But let's use regression. Our input, our dependent variable is on the weight. We'll check in the weight. Okay. Our independent are the نحط الage والheight and use as label. Okay. So this is the output for the second regression, second model. نكبره. قلنا هذول نمسحهم لأنهم هم just a duplication. Delete. Well, R square is very low. بس ما هم الحين. هذا رجع لكم هو الفورمات. طيب السؤال اللي يطرح نفسه هنا is this هذه البي فاليو حقت الاتش وهذا البي فاليو حقت الهايت. هل في is it significant الهايت ولا yes؟ هل الاتش significant؟ Yeah, it is significant. Usually age is not significant يعني عمر الواحد ما يأثر على وزنه، يعني ممكن واحد يمكن هو كبير يمكن هو صغير، بس I guess in you guys it's significant. this is the confidence interval for both. We did it with one variable. R square حقتنا كانت 0.3 هذه اللي هي 30%. ارجع لكم مره ثانيه بالعربي. R squared, this is 30% of the variation in weight can be explained by the height. مع R squared معناتها انه 30% او 34%، خلينا نحط لك 100%، 34% من التغير في الويت نقدر نفسره بالهايت. لما اضفنا العمر عليه اتحسن الرقم، صار 40%. 40% من التغير في الويت can be explained by the height and the age. كويس؟ أعدكم مرة ثانية كله إن إحنا دي هذه كلها أرقام you can understand them، لكن let's focus on what we need right now. نحن نبغى نعرف حاليا هل ال age has a significant relationship مع الويت. نحن الويت اللي هو حطيناه ال y variable حقنا اللي هو dependent variable. فال p value is less than 0.5 يعني it's barely less than 0.5 لكن it's still significant. فالويت is ايوه عماد. to do it you need to خلينا نكمل النقطة وبعدين that's how the age is significant while height is significant. These are the confidence intervals. If they don't cross the zero then they're significant. خليني أوريكم مثال ثاني اللي هو the one I used في ال lecture. كفلت أنا والله. على العموم خلاص ما يحتاج. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. معلش عماد أهو. You go here, file, option, go to add in, اختار ال data analysis toolbar, go, وبعدين check it in or click OK. Then it will show up when you restart Excel. نكمل. let's continue. في عندنا وقت. We'll continue وبعدين نرجع لل Excel مرة ثانية تحت. بس I want to finish the material. regression model. طبعا this is regression لما when you have more than one variable. لما يكون عندي 3 4 في you need to choose which variable to include in your model. مو شرط تدخل كل ال variables. يعني أنا I don't need to include مثلا ال count في ال regression. But how do you build it? How to know how to choose the variables? Part of it is عقولهم art. You just look at the model from your knowledge of the data. You can tell which variable you're going to include, which variable you don't need to include. What science is اللي هو there are ways of elimination. في Excel you have to do it manually. في applications ثانية زي مثلا SAS و SPSS it does them for you. يعني these are a little bit advanced. إن إحنا in one session we're not gonna dive in deep في الأشياء هذه. You guys can once you start doing your study you can read about those things and figure them out while you're doing the paper itself. And these are the steps essentially what we were doing right now in the lecture. طيب types of variables. when I told you regression can do everything, I was lying to you. It can do a lot of things, like you have to put in consideration the types of variables. Linear regression من شروطه, or one of its condition, is that both variable has to be continuous, and both variable has to be normally distributed. If they're not continuous, if they're not normally distributed, you cannot use a linear regression. You can use it, like it's not the ideal study. What does it mean continuous? Continuous are the variable that has no categories, well, no gap between the data points. عكسهم أو on the other hand الcategorical variables, والcategorical ينقسموا نوعين, ordinal and nominal. So let's see if you guys know which one is continuous and which one is categorical or ordinal. So is age continuous, or what kind of variable is age? Continuous. And I will wait for 3 answers, then I'll move to the next one. إذا كلكم جبتوها صح, we'll move on to the next one. For the first one, it's simple. Shared size. What kind of variable is shared size? Yeah, categorical. It's a categorical. It's ordinal. No small after. There is order in it. النومينال اللي ما فيهم order is الكاتيجوريكال اللي ما فيهم order are nominal. If you have an order, we call it ordinal. And small يجي بعده medium, يجي بعده after it comes in large, then x large, then xx large. So this is an ordinal value. Gender. Gender 0. Nominal. It's either male or female or other genders. Height. Continuous. Weight. Continuous. Good. Okay, so as I was telling you guys, if you want to use a linear regression, you need to have both variable, or both variable. Mainly the dependent variable has to be continuous or has to be normally distributed. If your dependent variable is not continuous, and if I want to study the relation between, we're studying the relation between weight and height. If I want to study the relation between shared size and height, I cannot use a linear regression. Linear regression does not understand the categorical values. But what do I do? This is what you do. You could use different kind of regressions. كل واحد منهم is designed for a certain kind of dependent variable. A local regression for the categorical, Poisson, the logistic is for the binomial, اللي هم yes, no, 1, 2, male, female variables. These you can read about. And once you design your study, you start doing your analysis, you can go in on any website and figure out what kind of regression test you need to do. Multiple linear regression is for multiple variables. Your dependent variable has to be continuous and normally distributed. If not, then you're going to use one of those. تقريبا كده we are closing. مجموعة صور بعدين مرة ثانية. Okay, let's do one more round of camera versus phone. Camera ولا phone? Phone. Camera ولا phone? Camera. This one. This one phone. This one. This one camera. This one. This one camera too. You still guys لساعكم ما ضبطوا في الكاميرا versus phone. Well, if you do analysis or you do your regression, nobody will know whether you did it through SAS or Excel. It's the same thing. Always basis. طيب, this is the end of my lecture. أنا هذا السلايد this slide I did not put it initially لكن حطيتها بعدين بالنهاية لأنه I discovered a lot of people that having difficulty with data analysis. They hire a statistician. If you are going to hire a statistician, have you guys seen these websites before, or do you know about these websites? No. But and I think this is what most statisticians are doing. And I'm giving you guys the secret hack. These are websites. Since we have time, let's go into one of them. Let's go to part. So far, when you go into it, you want to do data analysis. It can help you essentially with all part of research. Instead of paying 7,000 riyal for analysis and proof editing, you could do it here. So you can type in data entry or data cleaning or data analysis or manuscript writing. I don't know if they can make it choose the app. Okay, statistical data analysis. But those are people. كل واحد منهم شخص. They advertise for themselves. They can provide services for you. They can analyze your data and system. وفايفر جاي من 5 من 5. They do it for $5. مثلا هذا الشخص let's نقول نبغى best selling طلعنا عندنا فلوس كثيرة. هذا الأخ ما في بالريتنج. Okay, let's take this guy for example. He will. This is what he's gonna do. He will do Excel or whatever that analysis application you want to use, and he will do your data analysis. This lady for $15 or $45. تدفع له. He analyzes the data and gives it to you. I'm not saying that you guys should do that, but if you're gonna pay, don't overpay for the services. Usually, the data analysis part of the research is the part that gets delegated in research. I'm expecting a lot of the researchers and data analysts in Saudi they're using these websites instead of doing the analysis themselves. If you want to start a business, start a data analysis company or start hiring those people, pay them. هم أكثرهم مساكين يعني هم مساكين أكثرهم من الهند ولا من باكستان أو من أفريقيا. $20 is a lot for them. But they just get paid this much money, or they're happy to do it. يعني that's another option if you really want to do data analysis, but you don't want to do it yourself. But at least you need to understand the concept. يعني الconcepts اللي احنا شرحناها اليوم حتى even if you're going to hire someone to do data analysis, you need to know them. You need to be clear about them. To know what the other person is doing. Great. Freelancer is the same thing essentially. Freelancer, it's different in when you put in your projects, unless they come in with offers for you. And essentially that's it for that analysis today. Do you guys have any questions or feedback? Hopefully it was not that heavy, or hopefully it was easy to bite. خليني أخش على QA وأشوف إذا في أسئلة. On what basis is the middle point assigned? As the middle point is the median. All the data, you sum them together and then you divide them by the number of points or the number of population. How can we determine if the sample variance of the population. It's always a true representation if you calculate it correctly. Please, doctor, this is the calculation in the slides, all of them are done by Excel. كل الاناليسيس اللي في الليكشر is done by Excel. If that your question. Okay. Do you guys have any more questions? You guys want me to go over? Fill handout after the last slide. You will have how to activate an analysis tool path with Excel. Any more questions?
There is one more question in the Q&A, Dr. Imad.
Is the data analysis in Excel more time consuming? It takes the same time, and for me, it depends on how comfortable you're in Excel. For me, it's faster to do it through Excel. Excel is not a data analysis program. And it's not designed for data analysis. لكن those add-on can help you with data analysis. عكس SPSS, SPSS SAS, Stata, those are data analysis applications. But learning them takes time. Excel is very easy to learn. One of the things about data analysis is if you don't do it or you don't use it, you'll forget. But if you have SPSS available to you, you have access to it all the time, please use SPSS. It's more tuned toward data analysis. If you have SAS or the R is free. You can download R right now. R نفسه, if you download R, في add-on